Dear readers, I will be sending out more information to assist you to have a deeper experience of recalibrating your consciousness, chakras and body. With this alignment and recalibration, your chakras can serve one of their most important, and largely forgotten skills of, light language and the human chakra system. Dear ones, I am Gaia, here with the Arcturians. Please hear our unified voice, for we have joined our essence, Gaia and the Arcturians, so that Earth and all planetary inhabitants shall pass through the Arcturian corridor on our return home to our true self. As you may remember, the Arcturian corridor is the portal between the third-fourth dimension and into the higher worlds. In preparation for our final journey out of the third-fourth dimension, through the corridor and into our true vibrations, I, Gaia, have joined my essence with the Arcturians. This means that all of my inhabitants have also joined their essences with the Arcturian group mind. As you know, many of my humans have not yet consciously awakened to their higher dimensional self. Because of this, humanity's collective consciousness is still holding on to the 3D matrix. Therefore, the reality around you is still bound to the patterns of illusion. However, these illusions are beginning to falter, which causes great fear for the unawakening ones, as they can no longer feel secure in their old 3D reality. The unawakened ones consciously cling to the past, as their illusions tell them that it was a safer time. Because of this holding on to the past, their fear forces them to live in the reality which is ending, rather than embrace the reality which is becoming. Do not allow the fear of those around you to cause you to doubt the loving self you have discovered within you. You have downloaded and integrated the fifth-dimensional light into your consciousness. As a result, you are beginning to perceive the new reality, which is dawning. I urge you all to know that the inner messages you have received, as well as your yearning to change, are because of your higher state of consciousness. I regret that this transition is so demanding for my awakening ones. It was not according to the divine plan for our return to self to be so difficult, but the 3D game was more challenging than any of us could have foreseen. Nonetheless, the few have always led the many into new realities, so the final chapter is not that different from the previous ones. Forge ahead, my courageous new leaders, for the Arcturians and I are always with you. The Arcturians would now like to tell you about the reverse filter. The Arcturians speak. We are the Arcturians speaking to you through Gaia's and our combined essence. We find that when a being, be it a person, a society, a planet, a solar system, or a galaxy, is ready to pass through our corridor into the fifth dimension and beyond, it is best that they join their essence with ours. In that manner, we are in constant communication with those who are ascending home. We wish now to tell you about the reverse filter. For all of your third-dimensional incarnations, the consciousness of your Earth vessel was calibrated to what we call the reverse filter. This filter served to filter out the fourth dimension and above. Hence, you could only perceive the third dimension and below. In order for your multidimensional self to log on to the 3D game, you had to put your consciousness through this reverse filter. As you consciously or unconsciously engage in the process of recalibrating your Earth vessel to accept and integrate the higher light again, we shall assist you in changing the filter in each of your chakras, so that you may filter in the fifth dimension and beyond. First, you will integrate the higher light into your consciousness. Then, you will integrate the higher light into your chakras. Then, you will integrate the higher light into your physical body. Entering the 3D game. To log into this game, you had to hit the I accept button that said, 1. You are now endeavoring to partake in the 3D game of separation and limitation. 2. Hence, you will experience a gradual separation from the fourth dimension and beyond. 3. You will also experience an increasing sense of separation from your higher self, as well as from all the higher vibrational realities. You chose to enter this experiment because you believed, and/or hoped, that this limitation in consciousness would spur you on to enhanced evolution. However, when you first entered your virtual Earth vessel on this 3D game board, a reverse filter had to be placed in your consciousness. This filter automatically kept out the sixth-dimensional blueprint of your true self, your seventh-dimensional oversoul, and the higher dimensional aspects of your multidimensional self. As time progressed, time being a phenomenon specific to the 3D game and unknown in your natural state, the fifth dimension and beyond, was filtered out of your consciousness. Once the fifth dimension and beyond was filtered out of your consciousness, it was also filtered out of your perceptions, and, hence, out of your reality. After the loss of the Lemurian 5D life force and the Atlantean 4D life force, you also became unconscious of the fourth dimension as well. Of course, there were always the very unusual ones with second sight, who were still able to perceive the fourth dimension. Many of you, the members of the planetary Ascension team, were among that small group. You could not bear to enter the 3D without any relief from the grinding limitations of the third dimension. However, filtering out the fourth dimension and above became a primary rule of the third dimension, especially during the Dark Ages. When you chose to break that rule, many of you were punished greatly. Therefore, most of you decided to voluntarily limit your perceptions to protect yourself and your family. Far back in time, when you first entered the 3D game, you thought the game would be a good experience, and in the end, perhaps it was. However, since you had never experienced individuality, you had no idea how lonely it would be. Also, in order to create a reality, which resonated only to the 3D, 2D and even 1D, the matrix had to be extremely polarized. In other words, the polarities of good/bad, light/dark, male/female, were strictly divided. Loss of innocence. Since your true self sprang from unity with the unconditional love of the flow of the One, you had never experienced evil, hate, darkness, or prejudice, and had no concept of how damaging they could be to your essence. You were like an innocent child going to a terrifying horror movie, and due to your innocence and purity, the images of the horror film tainted your consciousness and your perception of reality. Even though a gradual decline in resonance was planned over millennia, the 3D experience was still quite overwhelming. Hence, most of you decided that remembering your true self was too painful, and you chose to forget. That is, until now. The long-awaited time of the return to self is this very moment. Unfortunately, the habit of 3D life weighs heavily on you. Consequently, awakening to your forgotten truth is extremely difficult, and living that truth in your daily life is even more taxing. Furthermore, the majority of people are still unconscious of their true self, and still deeply entrenched in winning or losing the game. The problem is, when you win, from the perspective of your soul self, you appear to be losing, from the perspective of your ego self. All the toys, accolades, and accomplishments that your ego worked so hard to achieve, mean little to your soul. Since your soul only wants you to connect with it, it may ask you to release your myriad physical attachments in order to turn your attention inward. Changing light. The signal of light that you are receiving from your sun has progressed from 3D narrowband to multidimensional broadband, much as your dial-up internet access expanded to broadband and to satellite access. This expansion is happening because your solar system is entering the now for the return back to personal and planetary multidimensional self. Each of you is actually a component of Gaia. Many of the inhabitants of planet Earth are of the same galactic oversoul, as well as the same solar oversoul. Gaia is now entering into higher frequency energy fields that provide person and planet the opportunity to log off the 3D game and go home to their higher self. In fact, the entire planet is logging out of the 3D game and ascending to a higher frequency. Also, as Gaia and her inhabitants enter the higher light, the old-fashioned reverse filters will begin to break down. More and more, the higher frequencies are leaking through your old 3D filter and entering your consciousness to activate higher and higher brain waves and states of consciousness. This phenomenon may cause great fear for those who are uneducated as to what is actually happening, which is why we are sending these messages. The upgrade in light, which is most safely received in the protection of unconditional love and the violet fire, can best be integrated after you have recalibrated. First, the filter of your consciousness. Then, the filter for each chakra. Then, the filter for your earth vessel. Then, the filter of your perceptions. Consciousness filter. Your 3D brainwave filter can only accept third-dimensional perceptions. Therefore, via beta wave consciousness, you can only consciously perceive, interact, and communicate with the third dimension. Your 4D brainwave filter can only accept third and fourth dimensional perceptions. Therefore, via these alpha brain waves, you can only perceive, interact, via dream language. Theta brain waves can take you on journeys into the higher worlds, but only trained shaman and medicine men or women can perceive, understand, and communicate with these realities. Delta and gamma brain waves are usually unconscious to your third-dimensional brain, and require years of meditation and study for one to perceive, understand, and communicate with these realities. As the higher light expands, the consciousness of more and more of Gaia's inhabitants, the perception, interaction, and communication of light language will increase. When humanity only used the limited frequencies of the third dimension and below, you only needed to access about 10 to 15% of your earth vessel's brain, and about 3% of your DNA. Your 3D-bound scientific community considered the rest of your brain and DNA junk. We wish to tell you that Source would not create anything that operates at a 3% efficiency rate. However, while you were functioning in only beta brain waves, you were using only that 3% of your DNA and 10 to 15% of your brain. Fortunately, as people and planet accept more and more of the higher light, this higher frequency of light will turn on the 97% junk DNA. With your consciousness, chakras, and earth vessel recalibrated out of only third-dimensional conscious perception and into return to full conscious multi-dimensional perception, you will be able to perceive light language, understand light language, and communicate via light language. Review of chakras. Chakras are small vortexes that rest on the surface of your etheric double. Their two functions are to absorb and distribute prana to the etheric and physical bodies, and unite the fourth-dimensional, astral world with your physical body. You are now in the process of recalibrating your chakras so that they may serve to unite the fifth and sixth dimensional worlds with your physical body. Chakras are like wheels with varying numbers of spokes, fewer spokes with the lower chakras and an increasingly greater number of spokes with the higher chakras. When the prana rushes into the center of the chakra from a right angle, it sets up a secondary force. This secondary force sweeps around the chakra with its characteristic wavelength, creating an undulation, which catches the spokes and causes the chakra to spin. The more prana that the chakra can assimilate, the faster it can spin, and the more the physical world can interface with the higher dimensions. When you are able to assimilate the 5th/6th dimensional prana, your chakras will spin at a greatly increased rate. This increased spin of your chakras will alter not only your physical body, but every aspect of your life. All of your senses, perceptions, and possible states of awareness can be divided into 7 categories, which are associated with each of the 7 chakras. Each chakra represents certain areas of your body, brain waves, dimensions, experiences, and states of consciousness. Tensions that are felt in your psyche are also felt in your body via the chakra system. Conversely, tensions felt in your bodies are also experienced in your psyche. The chakras allow your unconscious and superconscious selves to communicate with your conscious mind. Changing your frequency. Each chakra vibrates to a different frequency, which corresponds to the brain waves of your different states of consciousness. Brain waves, like all waves, are measured in 2 ways. The first is frequency, or speed of electrical pulses. Frequency is measured in cycles per second, or hertz, ranging from 0.5 cycles per second to 38 cycles per second. The second measurement is amplitude, or strength of the brain wave. The outward-focused brain waves have a faster frequency and lower amplitude, whereas the inner-focused brain waves have a lower frequency and higher amplitude. There are 5 categories of brain waves. Beta waves, entirely outer focus, pulsate between 13 and 39 cycles per second. Alpha waves, blend of inner and outer focus, pulsate between 8 and 12 cycles per second. Theta waves, primarily inner focus, pulsate between 4 and 7 cycles per second. Delta waves, entirely inner focus, pulsate between 0.5 and 4 cycles per second. Gamma waves, multidimensional focus, with pulsations greater than 10 to 19 Hz. You can see by the illustration how the amplitude, or strength, increases as the frequency decreases. When your multidimensional self is fully integrated into your earth vessel, you will be able to use a combination of all 4 brain waves. In fact, there are also extremely high and low frequency brain waves that will become accessible to your expanded consciousness, which will assist you in your interdimensional travels. Once you have downloaded the 5th and 6th dimensional frequencies into your consciousness, your chakras will need to be recalibrated to accept, integrate, and use these higher vibrations in your daily life. Once your chakras can accept and integrate the higher frequencies, they can gradually and safely integrate the higher frequencies into your physical earth vessel. Since each chakra rules a different area of your body and your consciousness, the integration of the higher light into each chakra may create many symptoms of transformation in your physical body and your everyday reality. The inner focus brain waves, with the slowest wavelength and the highest amplitude, are closer to the crown of your head. And the outer focus brain waves, and the fastest wavelength with lowest amplitude, are closer to the base of your spine. Each of the 7 chakras is in a different location along the spinal cord, and interfaces with the corresponding endocrine gland and nerve plexus. Since the endocrine glands and nerve plexuses are the communication hubs for all intra-body interactions, the integration of the higher light into the endocrine glands and nerve plexuses greatly assists in the integration of higher light into your entire vessel. Each chakra represents an aspect of yourself, as well as an aspect of your third-dimensional, polarized reality. As each chakra integrates the 5th/6th dimensional vibration from your consciousness, the polarities of that chakra begin to merge into oneness. Gaia speaks again. Dear people of my body, as I move deeper and deeper into the higher frequencies of light, the energy fields of 5th/6th dimensional light are being received and downloaded, but too often they are not sufficiently integrated into my planetary system to be usable. Therefore, I am calling upon my humans to assist me with this process. Since many of you have integrated your personal chakras with my planetary chakras, when you recalibrate your personal chakras, you greatly assist me, your planetary mother, to recalibrate my chakras as well. Blessings, may persons and planet return to one being, to our true multidimensional self.